We have two fellows who are also not intimidated, and I really want to get both of your reactions to what you heard there and how this conversation is now getting framed by Jack Smith. You first, Michael.
Yeah, I think what he did this afternoon on Nicole Wallace's show was incredibly important. The Justice Department, for our careers at least, and for many generations before that, would always say within its own hallways, we speak through indictments, we speak through official documents. We're not proselytizers of our theories, we're not holding a lot of press conferences. And at a time where norms were respected by both political polls and everything in between, that made a lot of sense. I very much hope we get back to that world. But we're lying to ourselves if we pretend that we are in a normal time now. The ideals that the Justice Department has always stood for, the concept of justice itself, the moral imperative from which the department takes its name, is not functioning as it is supposed to. There is, quite frankly, a cancer in the RFK building right now. I think we can stop it. I think we can cut it out eventually. But what is happening in those hallways, what is happening on the 7th floor, is not normal. And it requires a response to meet the exigencies of this moment. And I'm glad he's stepping up and making that response.
I just add two things. I think there's two reasons why it's really helpful for Jack Smith specifically to be talking right now. One is, you know, as time passes, the indictments that he brought and why they were brought grow more and more distant. And what I'm worried about is as we get further and further away from January 6th and the insurrection, we run the risk of creating a false equivalency. That it's like, okay, maybe Donald Trump's doing something kind of political with these prosecutions, but he got prosecuted too. And so, Jack Smith is an embodiment of why Donald Trump was righteously prosecuted for fomenting an insurrection to try to overturn a democratic election, and then stealing confidential information, and at least there was some public reporting suggesting that he might have been trying to sell that information. So I think it's really important for him as a person to be speaking out and making sure that history doesn't get forgotten. The second thing that I think is important here is, you made the point about how well respected Jack Smith is here. I think his presence outside of the Department of Justice is going to give a little bit of courage to folks inside the Department of Justice, the career folks, to leave. We were talking about this earlier. I say it every time. The only thing the Department of Justice has is its credibility, its ability to convince judges and juries of things. And the problem that I see right now is you've got career prosecutors who, for very understandable reasons, for moral reasons, are trying to stay in RFK, stay in the building. I think that's a mistake. They're lending their credibility to an institution that doesn't deserve it right now. People like Jack Smith show that there is a future for them outside of that institution.
It's interesting because he spoke to that. He spoke to the idea of earning trust. Let's play that tape if we can.
I think if you have a question of, is a rioter who assaulted a police officer on January 6th a patriot, or is Harry Dunn a patriot? We win that argument every time if people have the facts. I think we've now learned that you got to be able to get people to understand the facts. We've got a great product in the work that we did as a special counsel, the work the Justice Department does every day. But the people who do it, who are really the reason you can trust it, they don't promote themselves. And so we need to get their stories out there. I think if that happens, the sort of trust in government, which is pretty hard to earn, you can do that.
Brendan, we have a great product out there. It's just not seen because, in the narcissistic world that we live in, these people are too diligent and they aren't self-promoters. But maybe that has to change in order for people to really get the facts and understand the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, I think there's the cultural aspect of not wanting to speak out and wanting to speak through indictments. So, I hope that Jack Smith sort of changes his attitude on that and starts speaking out more. I also think, bluntly, there's a money aspect to this, which is, there is an enormous amount of money and political power being used to try to rewrite the history of January 6th and the elections. I remember after Trump got reelected, I was talking with any number of people about, folks wanted to create a museum to January 6th and things like that. It didn't come together because the money wasn't there, So there's a huge imbalance, which just makes it even more important for folks like him to be speaking out.
Can I just get you to also, I'll just throw this on the table, as Michael Steele was saying, you take it wherever you want to go. He also acknowledged that the assault on our elections is alive and well right now. And he instructed state attorney generals to hold the line, to think about what it is that they will do when they are confronted with this. He talked about the election workers that held firm the last time Donald Trump tried this. To be very clear, he tried it in 2020, as you all well know, and noted that they were the ones that, frankly, that made the difference, the people at the state level. I think when folks hear people like me say, oh, I think Donald Trump is trying to steal the election and these are the ways in which they're trying to do it, they think I'm being dramatic and hyperbolic. But you just heard Jack Smith lay it out in a way that I hope folks are paying attention to.
Any conversation about this topic has to begin with the remembrance of the fact that Donald Trump was indicted for criminally conspiring to overthrow a democratic election. That has never before happened in the United States. He didn't give up. He left power because all avenues had been exhausted, but he and his allies have now had 4 years to think of smarter ways to subvert the democratic process, which is why we see Tulsi Gabbard selectively releasing intelligence information to make Democrats look bad, why Bill Pulte, who is nothing more than a bagman and a henchman, has been put in her place there to continue the work, why Kash Patel's FBI is raiding election offices in swing states. None of this is normal. No satisfactory explanations have been given to the public for any of this. And people need to pay attention because there's another inconvenient fact that we don't talk about. Donald Trump didn't seize power in the 2024 election. He was elected. He was elected with the American people full well knowing he was willing to break the law to stay in power and that he was willing to abscond from the White House with classified documents, that he was willing to violate campaign finance laws in a fashion that got him convicted in New York, that he was credibly determined to have
drag is real. Keep going, Michael Feinberg. I'm like, damn, the American people, we failed. Keep going. The ones that voted for Trump did, not me. 92% strong.
We did. As a country, as a polity, we let this happen, which means that we cannot look to other people to fix it for us. No. We have to do the hard work of democratic mobilization, campaigning, protesting, speaking, and advocating. And on those last two counts, I'm really glad that those of us who made that choice months ago now have Jack Smith on our side.
Well,